So the person of wisdom,
They say the sober person, right?
huh?
The sober person.
A sober person, a person of wisdom, he knows that he cannot be the body. Huh? His body is changing, and he can see it changing. He knows it's changing. But who is he? Understand? When you had this body is only a temporary thing. You had another body when you were young. Wasn't it about this big? Huh? Do you remember? Do you have any pictures when you were young?
Yep.
It's like
At
this.
home.
It's like they're very different. Now you just have a different body. When you get old, you'll have a different body. So body is changing, but you don't change.
Yeah.
You're the same person. No, you change. But body is changing its shape, its form, its weight, everything is changing. But the body itself doesn't go through those changes. You can recognize those different bodies. So who can understand that? He becomes detached from the body as its own self. You recognize there's another observer who's watching all this. Watching all these changes, bodies. In the Greek time, they used to argue about that. Who is Socrates? Is Socrates the body that's sitting now? Is he the one that's walking around? Is he the one that's laying down? Is he the one that's running? Which one is Socrates? Oh, Socrates understood, I'm not the body. I could be the body. Which one body am I? And for each of the different shapes of the body, positions of the body, is a different body.
Wasn't Socrates an impersonalist though? Sort of?
Not really. Maybe. But anyhow, he understood the difference between his body and himself. So when they went to kill him, he said, first you have to catch me. Then you can bury me. They asked him, Socrates, you are going to have to take the hemlock, the poison. Now what do you want us to do with your body after you take poison? First you have to catch me. Then you can bury me. Understand? He knew he was not. Just by meditating on these things, he used to question the other people around him.
Are you really talking from the dialectic spiritualism book?
Huh?
Because in dialectic spiritualism,
It's explained there.
like they talk about these different Western philosophers and Prabhupada responding to them.
Did you say? Prabhupada taught that. Yes, about that Socrates also accepted this. The Bhagavad Gita teaches this. So anyone who has some good intelligence, he should be able to recognize what this means to me. How the observer and the body is two different levels. Otherwise, when the body dies, what's the difference between a dead body and a living body?
There's a soul in the living body?
Soul leaves. That body, dead body, the whole body is there. But you can understand there's no life there. No conscience, no person is there. You can kick it. And it won't say, oh, stop kicking me. It won't protest. It won't protest. So there's no consciousness, no person there. You can keep the heart pumping and the blood breathing, all that, but the person won't be there. Just some vegetation. Vegetative state they call it. But you can't talk to them, they can't respond to you. So you have to understand the difference between the soul and the body. nowadays, they think the body is giving the help, giving the consciousness. Body gives rise to the consciousness. By electrical, electrochemicals reaction in the brain. They call neuron. You know what a neuron is?
Yeah.
Neuron is like an electrochemical reaction that's going on there. And it sends some current, a little electrical current from one neuron to the next. One makes the current and the other one receives the current. Like a wire. One part is current is going and then it goes to the next part and it goes to the next part like that. So a current is created in the brain for those electrical impulses. And they think that makes consciousness. Because if you block that process, the consciousness stops. If you encourage that process, the consciousness is there. So they're saying that process is the consciousness. Producing the consciousness. But, it's like this. If a radio is playing, is the radio producing the music?
No. No.
Does the radio produce the music? What is the radio? Just some wires?
Receives, yeah.
Oh, the aerial?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Does it produce music?
No.
If you break the radio, will it produce music? No.
No.
So you
I'm sorry, I couldn't comment because I'm not quite fluent in the science of radio.
It's like the radios is
But
receptacle.
it's true. Some people, they don't have any education in electronics and things like that. They see this little box and it's talking to them.
Yeah.
And they're looking at that box and they think, how is it talking to me?
Yeah.
They think the box is talking to them.
Yeah.
And they're looking at that box, trying to see inside of it, who's that person speaking in there? Some little person isn't there talking. They can't understand. It's not the radio that's talking. There's somebody in some broadcast station. He is talking, that signal, an electrical signal is coming, and except the aerial conducts the electricity into the box. And then there's so many transistors and other components in that box. And they produce the electrical current that causes the speaker to vibrate and the sound comes out. And it's saying exactly what that person in the broadcast station is saying.
Yeah.
So the scientists are very silly, like that person who thinks the box is talking. Yeah. They see the brain is going, some current is there, and then some consciousness and some thoughts, other things are being produced, and they think that the body is producing that.
Yeah.
Right. There's someone talking, but it's not the body. Somebody thinking, somebody's conscious, but it's not the body. It's coming through the body, but it's not the body. It's not the origin. Body is not the origin of that. So we have to look out for the origin. What is that book called?
On the origin
Original
of
source,
species.
huh?
Oh, what?
The original source.
Origin of small.
What is the original source of all these things? Krishna says very clearly, I am. Aham sarvasya prabhu. I am the creator. Excuse me. So, yeah, Bhagavad Gita is a book of wisdom. If you read the Bhagavad Gita and you understand what is being told there, then you can have some wisdom. You have some wisdom in your life. And not only wisdom, but you understand these things very clearly. Darshan. You'll be able to see them. See it very clearly. That's what darshan. You can see the truth. At present, because of ignorance, we're all confused. Everyone. And we don't know what is what.
Yeah.
Just like the radio. We think radio is talking. I think the body is talking. was that on?
I turned it on towards the end. It wasn't on the whole time.
So
I'm gonna move it.
now I have to stop talking.
Yeah, take rest probably.
And Krishna Kesava, you can have your time.
Okay.
And have our prayers. You have to spend some time, in your own life, you have to spend some time reading these things and trying to understand them. That's very important part of sadhana.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Are you recording this?
It's on Facebook Live.
We're streaming it.
Streaming it, yeah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakti The words of Sripad Bhakti Madhava before Maharaj.
Jai. Wait, 38.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunapanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Viskanvitam Sha Umagina Timirinhasya Gina Jana Salakaya Chakra Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Puja Shri Guru Varga Vandita Mahabhavanvitaya Sada Parva Parya Parampara Prachita Praja Pramurta Kriti Bhakti Nirmala Nirjasya Nivritam Samrakshikam Sadaram Vande Shri Guru Devam Mananta Shira Acharya Varyanijam Purva Bhishta Supurukam Kurukaner Ashisha Sambhushitam Chintya Achintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Sri Rupa Patananugam Govinda Vidam Ujvalam Radhatanum Bhakti Anvitam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Guruncha Divya Bhagvat Prameno Hi Bija Pradam Devam Divya Tanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandranda Puram Serika Varanam Varagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Shubhakti Lashitam Sarasvatanam Varam Vande Tam Subharadam Erika Saranam Yashishvaram Sridhar Haram Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Ti Vidito Goryo Goranvaye Batu Banuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanai Mayavara Timgaloda Ragatan Gudrati Jivaniman Krishna Prema Subhadi Gahan Sukam Pradat Pagum Tambaje Namo Gorkishoraya Bhakti Vaduta Murtaye Gorangi Padma Bringaya Radha Bhavani Shevane Vande Bhakti Vinodam Shri Gora Shakti Swarupakam Bhakti Sastragya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudanidim Gora Vrajashate Sheshar Vaishnavar Vande Vigraham Jagannatha Prabhum Vande Prelabhrindrada Vaishnavam Anchakapa Triyubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Trishe Namaha Jaitam Suratur Pangur Mama Mandama Tergati Matsarvasva Padambujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyadrindanya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ratnagara Simastanasto Shri Gandharva Srila Govinda Devo Prestali Bi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambi Ramsi Vata Tata Stita Karshan Venus Vaner Gopir Gopinate Shri Estuna Vrindanaya Tulsi Devya Priyai Kesya Vasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavachaya Namo Namaha Atanatva Mantra Gurun Gurun Bhagavatarthadan Vyasanjaga Guru Natva Tato Jaya Mudhirayet Jai Saparikashi Shri Guru Garanga Gandharva Sundar Pada Padmanam Jayasti Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasiri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Are you okay?
Page 105.
Is the camera making you uncomfortable?
What?
Is it making you uncomfortable?
Camera is making you uncomfortable. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Any health
I can
problem?
speak freely though, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Any health issues? You're okay? You're getting tears from the eyes?
No, I'm just like I haven't been able to. Like yesterday night I didn't sleep and I haven't been able to sleep properly and I'm just been going through a lot.
Pain? You're getting sleep? You want to go home?
No,
Go and sleep?
not sleep though. I'm just.
No, he already had water.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
Maharaj, do you want to read the last?
I wish I could, my throat is
No, I'm
not.
saying do you want us to read it?
Yes.
You want to start the reading?
Which page?
On page 38, if you could start the English.
Huh?
Starting to read the English on page 38.
Oh, you want to read English?
Yeah.
Can I read this one day also?
Yeah, where it says I offer my obeisance.
Okay. Are we not reading the Sanskrit one?
No, you can read one day and then you can start. Yeah.
Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Rakuna Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadutam Parajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Guru, the predecessor Gurus, the Lord's devotees, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Raghunath, Shri Jiva, Shri Rupa's fathers, Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Dev, Shri Nityananda Prabhu, Shri Advaita Prabhu, Shri Chaitanya Dev's associates, Shri Radha Krishna, Shri Lalita Devi, Shri Vishaka Devi, and all of their associates.
Jana Tumuran Hasya Jana Salakaya Chakram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. I offer my obeisance unto Shri Guru Dev, who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance, with the salve of divine knowledge.
Pujya Sri Guru Varga Vandita Mahabhava Nivittaya Sada Paurva Parya Parampara Prachalita Prajya Pramurta Krate Bhakti Nirmala Nirjarasya Nirbratam Samraksakam Sadhanam Vande Sri Gurudevam Ananta Sira Acharya Varyam Nijam. I bow my head in eternal obeisance to my Gurudev, the best of Acharya, Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj. He is the ever vigilant, stalwart guardian of the current of pure devotion, whose highest form flows from our most worshipful Sri Rupanga Guru Varga in their exclusive dedication to Mahabhava Srimati Radharani.
Okay. Gurva Vista Supurakam Guru Ganai Asisa Sambhu Satam Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Pantanugam Govinda Bidam Ujvalam Bharatanam Bhakti Anmitam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Cha Divya Bhagavad Premno Hi Vijayavadam. I offer my obeisance unto He who perfectly fulfills His Gurudev's most cherished desires, who is fully adorned with the blessings of His Gurudev's associates. who is expert in all aspects of Vedic knowledge, both conceivable and inconceivable, who is the preeminent follower of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu's line, who is known as Govinda Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, who is beautiful, effulgent, exalted, formless, infused with pure devotion, who is the Guru of the entire universe, and who is the giver of the seed of divine love for the Supreme Lord.
Hivardivyam tam suchanda bharanam vavarta chelanchitam Sandrananda puram serika varanam varagya vidyam bulim Shri Siddhanta nidhim shubhakti lashitam sarasvatanam varam Vande tam subharam madhaka saranam yashishvaram Sridhar I offer my obeisance unto my Lord, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, whose speech is most pleasing, whose divine form is adorned with garments the color of the newly risen sun, who is an abode of intense ecstatic devotion, who is the sadhu's sole choice, who is an ocean of renunciation and knowledge, who is a treasure house of perfect conclusions, who is resplendent with pure devotion, who is the best of Srila Saraswati Thakur's followers, who is the giver of all good, who is the leading general of the Tridandi sannyasis, and who is my sole shelter.
Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Vidito Gaurya Guru Anvaye Bato Balur Prabhata Gagane Ye Gaura Sri Gaura Sankirtanai Mayavada Timingalo Dara Gatan Udritya Jivanamyan Krishna Prema Sudapti Gahana Sukam Pradat Prabhum Tam Bhaje. I saw my Lord, who is known as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, within the Gaudiya Sampradaya's lineage of Gurus. He shines like the sun in the morning sky. Through the Sankirtan of Sriman Mahaprabhu, he rescues the souls and engulfed within the belly of the Timingala of illusionism and bestows upon them the ecstasy of swimming in the nectarian ocean of divine love of Krishna.
Namo Gaura Kishora Bhakta Va Duta Mataye Gaurangi Padma Bringaya Radha Bhava Nisevin. I offer my obeisance unto the divine form of the devotee Avadut Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is the honeybee at Sri Gaura Sundar's lotus feet, and a servant of Srimati Radharani imbued with deep loving attachment. One day Bhakti Vinodam Sri Gaura Sakti Sarupakam Bhakti Sastragna Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudha Nidam. I offer my obeisances unto Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the embodiment of Sri Gaura Sundar's potency. He is the king of all knowers of the scriptures of pure devotion, and an ocean of the nectar of devotion to Srimati Radharani.
Varavagashita Sheshar Vaishnavar Bandi Vigraham Jaganatha Prabhum Vande Preda Vaishnavam. I offer my obeisance unto my Lord, the ocean of divine love, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. He is the senior most devotee and worshipped by all who have taken shelter in Sri Navadvip Dham and Sri Vrajadham.
Vanchakala Tarapyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Again and again I offer my obeisance unto the Supreme Lord's devotees, who are saviors of the fallen, ocean of mercy, and wish-fulfilling trees.
Pancha Tattva Makam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhakta Vataram Bhakta Kyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. I offer my obeisance unto the fivefold manifestation of Sri Krishna known as the Pancha Tattva. His form as a devotee Sri Krishna Chaitanya, His expanded form as a devotee Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His avatar as a devotee Sri Advaita Prabhu. His pure devotees led by Shivas Thakur and his devotional energies led by Gadadhar Pandit.
Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Name Goratvishe Namaha. Again and again I offer my obeisance unto you, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the supremely merciful golden form of Sri Krishna, the giver of Krishna prema.
Jetam Suratau Ongur Mama Manda Matar Gati Mat Sarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana. All glory to the merciful Sri Radha Madana Mohan. Though I am lame and wicked, they are my sole shelter, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Yo. 43.
Divya Vrindarana Kalpa Trumada Srimad Ratnakara Simhasana Styo Sri Gandharva Srila Govinda Devo Prasta Lipir Seva Manau Smarami. I meditate upon Sri Radha and Sri Govinda being worshipped by their dear girlfriends as they sit upon a throne within a beautiful jeweled temple beneath the wish-fulfilling trees of the divine abode of Vrindavan.
Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambi Vamsivata Tatastita Harshan Venus Vaner Gopir Gopinath Shri Estuna. May Gopinath, the beautiful originator of the Rasa Leela, who stands on the riverbank at Vamsivat and attracts the gopis with his flute song, bestow auspiciousness upon us.
Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyaya Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Nama. Again and again I offer my obeisance unto Vrinda Devi, who is known as Tulsi Devi, and Satyavati, who is most dear to Krishna and who bestows devotion to Krishna upon us.
Ata Natva Mantra Gurun Bhagavata Tadam Vyasam Jagat Gurun Natva Tato Jayam Udiraret. Having offered obeisance to one's initiating Guru, to the Gurus who have taught one the meaning of the Bhagavad, and to all the authors of Vedic literature who are the Gurus of the entire world, proclaim Jai.
Jai Saparka Shri Shri Guru Garanga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Padma Nam Jayast. All glory to the lotus feet of Shri Guru, Shri Gora Sundar, Shri Shri Gandharva Govinda Sundar, and all of their associates.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Evil.
Text 105. Do you still want to? Can we still do that prayer, Mahar?
What?
Can we still do Amara Jivana?
You can do.
On text 105?
Oh. Page 105, right?
Yes.
Amara Jivana Sada Papera Pranahika Punyera Lesha.
Amara Jivana Sada Paperata Nahika Punyara Lesha.
Arera Udvega Diyachi Ekata Diyachi Jivera Klesha.
Parera Udvega Diyachi Ekata Diyachi Jivera Klesha.
Nija Shukalagi Pape Nahidari Dayahina Svata Para.
Nija Sukalagi Papena Idari Dayahina Svartapara.
Para Sukhe Duki Sada Mityabhasi Para Duka Sukakara.
Para Sukhe Dukhi Sada Vidyabhasi Para Dukkha Sukhakara.
Asesha kamana vedima jemura krodidamma parayana.
Ashisha kamana hridaya mate mora krodi dambapa rayana.
Madhamata sada vishaye mohita himsa garva vidushana.
Madhamata sada vishaya mohita himsa garva vibhusana.
Nidralasya hatha sukharye virata akarye udyogiyami.
Nidralaya sata sukare virata akare udyogi ami.
Pratistalagiya satya acharana lobahata sadakami.
Pratishtalagiya satyacharana lopahata sadakami.
Ehena durjana satana varjita aparadi nirantara.
Ehena durjana sajjana varchita aparadi nirantara.
Shubha karya sunya sadhanartamana nana dukhe jara jara.
Subha karya sunya sadanartamana nana dukhe jara jara.
Arhake ekana upaya vihina tate vina akinchana.
Vardhake ekana upaya vihina tatadina akitana.
Bhakati vinoda prabhura charane kare dukkha nivedana.
Bhakti vinoda prabhura charane kare dukha nivedana.
Amara jivana sada paperata nahika punyera lesha.
Amara jivana sada paperata nahika punya alesha.
Panera udvega diyachi ekata diyachi jivera klesha.
Parare udveka diyachi ekata diyachi jivera klesha.
Prabhu, do you want to read the English?
Which page?
105.
105.
The Amara one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Amara Jivana Sade Pape Rata Nahika Punyera Lesa Parera Parere Udvega Diachi Ekata Diachi Jivire Klesha. My life was always engrossed in sin. There is not a trace of pity within it. I have caused others so much anxiety and trouble.
Just read the English.
I am never afraid to engage in sinful activities for the sake of my own happiness. I am merciless and selfish. I am a perpetual liar. I am saddened by the happiness of others and pleased by the sadness of others.
There are unlimited sinful desires within the core of my heart. I am angry and arrogant and always maddened with the vanity, infatuated with mundanity, or ornamented with malice and pride. Yeah, 106 probably. English.
Yeah. I'm subdued by laziness and sleep, averse to performing good deeds, and eager to perform sinful deeds. I engage in deceitful behavior in pursuit of prestige. I'm ruined by greed and constantly covetous.
Such a sinner as I is shunned by devotees and is a constant offender. I am devoid of virtuous motives, always intent upon evil, and racked by various miseries.
Now aged, I am devoid of any means of deliverance, and thus destitute and distressed. Bhakti Vinod submits this remorseful confession at the Lord's feet.
You should move the chairs around. We're going to look at the computer.
Prabhuji, was there any reason that we didn't read the Sanskrit version too?
If you want to move your chair, Prabhu.
No, Prabhuji already read the Sanskrit question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he already read. So that's why we have to read.
See everyone, so see in the back. Okay. You all sit here and you can sit here too. That's all you can read.
You want me to sit over there?
Right there.
Alright.
You have to read.
Go on the screen. You can sit on the chair.
It's going to be in the way though.
What?
Yeah. Just start with life's objectives. Life's objectives may be scientifically analyzed as threefold: exploitation, renunciation, and dedication.
In Sanskrit, what do those words mean?
In Sanskrit,
Exploitation, renunciation, and dedication. What do they correspond to in Sanskrit?
Bhukti, Mukti, Bhakti. The most common tendency is in those engaged in exploiting other persons, species, or elements for mundane sense enjoyment. They desire to materially elevate themselves in the present environment, and thus they are described as elevationists. A more sober class discover the severe, equal, and opposite reactions to worldly pursuits, and they engage in renunciation of the world, in search of an equilibrium comparable to a deep, dreamless slumber. By being unawake to the world, they hope to escape its concomitant. They hope to escape its concomitant reactions and sufferings. Thus their goal is liberation, and they are known as salvationists or liberationists. But through the correct interpretation of the revealed scriptures by learned votaries such as Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Ramanuja, the devotees of divinity know the pursuits of both exploitation and renunciation as not only fruitless but injurious to real progress.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. The normal, wholesome, and happy plane is in the life of dedication, without exploiting or borrowing anything from the environment, and without attempting to artificially renounce it. One who is sincere to dedicate himself naturally comes into the contact with a higher and more subtle plane of life. By his readiness to give and serve, he will attain to a higher society and achieve an appropriate master. The enjoying spirit forces one to be associated with the lower section to control and enjoy, and the renunciation spirit allures even the scholars with its prestigious superiority over exploitation. Thus, it is more dangerous, just as a half-truth is more dangerous than a falsehood, as it is difficult to awaken someone from the deepest possible sleep. The liberationist may remain for incalculable time within their cell of non-differentiated liberation. But the higher existence will invite the service of one who deserves to purely dedicate himself without remuneration.
Ali?
You can read?
Where are these?
The seva, service dedication.
Seva, service, dedication is the sanam bonum of the teachings of the Vaishnava school. The third plane of life where every unit is a dedicating member in an organic whole. In such a normal adjustment, everyone mutually assists one another in their service to the center, the higher recipient, the highest entity everywhere. Everything is existing to satisfy him, because he must possess this qualification to be the absolute. He is the prime cause of all causes, and everything exists for him to satisfy him. Shall I read more?
Yeah, complete the paragraph.
Read.
A barren conception of mere deathlessness cannot afford us any knowledge of a positive thing, but only freedom from the negative side. If immortality means no influence of mortality, what then is its positive conception? What will be the nature, movement, and progress of that which is immortal? Without this understanding, immortality is only an abstract idea. Because it does not appear to exhibit the symptoms of death, stone would be more immortal than human beings, and conscious entities would be mortal forever, denied immortality. What then is the positive conception of immortality? How are the immortal immortal? How are the immortal immortal? What is the positive reality in immortality? How can one become immortal? One must search out his intrinsic location in the universal order. It will not do to attempt to solve only the negative side of life, which is full of suffering, birth, death, infirmity, and disease. We should know that there exists a conception of life worth living for. This positive side has been almost totally neglected in general religious views.
The immortality professed the schools of Buddha and Shankaracharya yields no positive light. Their goals are Maha Nirvana and Brahma Saujya respectively. The Buddhist theory is that after the liberation nothing remains. They crave absolute extinction of material existence, Parakriti Nirvana. Sankarite monist theory of liberation is to lose one's individuality by becoming one with the non-differentiated aspect of the absolute. That is, they crave extinction in Brahman Nirvana. They postulate that when the triad of seen and seeing, drashta, drishya, darshana, or knower, knowable, and knowledge culminate at one point, the triad is destroyed, tripukti vinata, and nothing remains. Material action and reaction ceases in Vairaja, the river of passivity, which is located at the uppermost edge of this illusory Mayika world, and above Viraja is the destination of Sankarites, the Abhasiksa stage, or the non-differential plane of Brahman, called Brahmaloka, which is located at the lowest edge of the spiritual realm. Both are vague areas of negative immorality. Brahmaloka is marginal or buffer state midway between the material and spiritual worlds. Composed of innumerable souls, it is an immortal plane devoid of specific variegatedness, nirvishesa. It possesses positivity only in the sense that it is a plane of existence, a background, but in itself it lacks positive development of variegated existence, kala. The nature of the background is oneness, and development when over it necessitates plurality or differentiated nature. Kala Kastamati Rupena Pralinava Adhyani Chendi Markandeya.
Gita.
You could come forward.
In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 16, mutable, Sara and immutable Aksara existence are described, representing the personal and the impersonal, the development and the basis, or differentiated and non-differentiated conceptions of general existence. The mutable is represented by the multitude of embodied living beings, while the immutable aspect is a great expanse of the all-accommodating absolute, the Brahman. In the analysis of worldly action, the most subtle form of unfructified past action prior to the present tendency, the seedling stage to sin, has been defined as unknowable, indistinct, and of untraceable origin. The immutable Brahman aspect of the Absolute is similarly defined as being one-dimensional, undetectable, unspecific, and of no definite color, sound, or taste, an unknown and unknowable, an understandable stage of existence. But the Supreme Lord Krishna is above both the mutable and immutable existences, and thus his glories are sung throughout the Vedas and in the world as the Purushotama, the Supreme Personality. Shri Sukha Deva Goswami affirms that in the most remote and distant plane, Lord Krishna is to be found. Everywhere is he, the fountainhead of all conceptions. He cannot be eliminated.
Thus, the immortality of the impersonalistic. Thus, the immortality of the impersonalistic schools, such as Buddhists, Shankarites, etc., offers no positive life. But in Vaishnavism, immortality is positive, dynamic existence. Above the non-differentiated Brahmana aspect of the Absolute, the transcendental variegated existence begins in the first glimpse of the spiritual sky, the plane known as Paravyoma, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 19.153. Situated there in the spiritual plane is the positive kingdom of God. Firstly, Vaikuntha, then Ayodhya, then Dwarka, Mathura, and finally, above all, Goloka. Transcending the vague areas of negative immortality that the impersonalists aspire for, the devotees, the Vaishnavas, dedicate themselves to the life of the eternal devotional service to the Supreme Lord of the transcendental realm. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Although the soul can maladapt himself to a fallen state of existence in the planes of exploitation and renunciation, he is inherently adaptable to the positive life in the kingdom of God. And fully blossomed, he reaches the realm of Goloka. Srupa Sabara Haya Golokite Stiti Shri Shri Krishnera Ashotora Satanama.
Sri Prapa Anna Jivanamrutam. Amruta means undying or nectar, and Jivana means life. Positive immortality is possible only for the surrendered. Prapananam. All others are necessarily mortal. Only those who have wholly given themselves to the center are living in the eternality. Surrender is fully established in its excellence and its constant position. Yet there is very, very greatness within the constancy in the form of progressive movement or pastimes. Vilasa. The Supreme Absolute Personality being infinitely superior to both the mutable mortals and immutable immortal Brahman, only the Swarupa Siddha souls, those who are perfectly established in the divine relationship with him, are eternally free from the disease of mutation and mortality. Swarupena Vyastiti.
With a broad vision, we must know ourselves as created of smaller stuff, and thus only with assistance from above can we improve our situation and achieve a position in a higher plane. A submissive, serving attitude is necessary in us. If we submit, the universal victorial aspect of the Absolute will take us upward to a higher prospect. He's the autocrat, the absolute knowledge, the absolute good. Everything about him is absolute. Being in a vulnerable position as we experience in this world, why then should we not submit to him?
The road to the sphere of transcendence, Adhoksaja, is the deductive or descending method of Aroha Panta. We can reach the absolute good, the absolute will, by his consent alone. Only by faith and absolute surrender is anyone allowed entry into that domain, never by exploitation or colonization, or by attempting to become a monarch there. No inductive or ascending method, Aroha Panta, such as renunciation or yoga, etc., can compel him to accept us. Whosoever he chooses can alone reach him. Svetasvatra Upanishad 6.23. Although the highest point of the renunciates is desirelessness, or freedom from possessiveness, the surrendered soul, Sharanagata, is naturally desireless, akinchana, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.99. Detachment is only the negative side of surrender, and above selflessness, the devotee surrenders himself to the higher substance, and this is to be awake in another world, another plane of life. Such is the positive Vaishnava conception of life, to determine one's real self beyond the jurisdiction of the world of this conception.
The nature of progressive substance is eternal existence, knowledge and beauty, sat-cit-ananda. The one harmonizing organic whole, Advaya Jnana Tattva, contains all similarities and differences, held inconceivably in the hand of the Absolute. Achintaya Veda Tattva. And there is no anarchy in the absolute power. Not less. Mercy is found to be above justice, above judiciousness. The supreme position is held by love, sympathy, and beauty. I am the absolute power, but I am friendly to you all. Knowing this, you need never fear. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. This revelation relieves us of all apprehension. We are not victims of a chaotic environment, but it is judicious, considerate, and ultimate dispersion is our friend. Sri Jiva Goswami has stated of the six symptoms of surrender, to embrace the guardianship of the Lord is central, since total surrender expresses the same ideal. The remaining five symptoms of accepting the favorable, rejecting the unfavorable, faith in the Lord's protection, full self-surrender, and humility are natural contribution associate servitors to the ideal.
Surrender is the foundation of the world of devotion. It is the very life and essence. One cannot enter into that domain without surrender. It must be present in every form of service, and to attempt divine service without it will be mere imitation or a lifeless formality. The entire gist of the Vedic instruction is to dedicate oneself to the service of the Lord. In his commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Sridhara Swami Pada has stated that only if the practices of devotion are initially offered to the Supreme Lord can they be reorganized as devotion. To attempt to execute them and subsequently offer them cannot be pure devotion. Without surrender, the activity will be adulterated with exploitation, renunciation, artificial meditation, and so on. By constitution, the soul is the Lord's servant, and the Lord has the right to make or mar, to do anything according to his sweet will. If accepting this truth will undertake the devotional practices such as hearing, chanting, remembering, and worshipping, only then will our activity be devotional. Only the activity of the self-dedicated soul can be devotion. Sincere prayer will help us to seek the help of the Lord. But again, prayer in the spirit of surrender can alone reach him. The path of devotion entails increasing our negative status, to invite the positive to descend and embrace us. I am very low and you are so high. You can purify me, take me and utilize me for your higher purpose. Be pleased, otherwise I am helpless, neglected. It is impossible to take him captive in the cage of our knowledge. Only the way of devotion can help us. in every respect he is high, great and infinite, and we are similarly small. His mercy, his sympathy, love and grace are the only medium through which we can come together. And good faith is autonomous in that sweet land which is so high, and we will earnestly hope and pray for the association of the higher existence as a slave, and that also will be a very happy prospect for the future.
Krishna is not within our purview, and thus we are always recommended by scriptures and saints to approach the bona fide divine master and Vaishnavas. To satisfy the Supreme Lord, the criterion is to satisfy our Gurudev. If Gurudev is dissatisfied with us, the Lord is surely dissatisfied. An analogy has been cited in the scriptures where the Lord is compared to the sun, the Guru to a pond, and the disciple to a lotus flower. If the pond withdraws, the very sun will scorch and dry up the lotus, and the lotus will be cheered by the sun as the water supports and surrounds it. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada nagito kutopi, jayam stivam tasya yasyas. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nagito kutopi, jayam stivam tasya yasastu sandhyam, vande guru shri charanara vindam. Gurvashtakam 8. I bow down to the lotus feet of Sri Gurudev. By his grace we achieve the grace of Krishna. Without his grace we are lost. Therefore, at daybreak, noon, and evening, we meditate upon and sing the glories of Sri Gurudev and pray for his mercy.
The Vaishnava Guru's dealings with the disciple are all grace, and his grace is able to extend his wealth to the disciple. His instruction is the medium of asserting his will, which is service for the satisfaction of the Lord. And by service we invite his grace. By an earnest desire to serve, we draw his sympathy and his willing extension of goodwill to encourage us in our relationship with the Supreme Entity. Firstly, surrender. We must offer him exclusive respect, pranipata, otherwise we shall not allow ourselves to approach him. Secondly, we may make our sincere and substantial inquiry, pariprasthana, in a surrendered spirit. We may hear our Divine Master's message, which he delivers to us from his venerated seat, the Vaishasana. In that conducive setting, the proper inspiration and dictation may fruitlessly come down to us. And finally, to render the service, they enables us to taste the essence. Bhagavad Gita 4.3.
On the instruction of his Gurudev, Devarsi Narada Vyasadeva had to undergo a progressive development. Narada is established in non-calculative devotion, and above Narada is Uddhava, who is established in exclusive divine love for Krishna, until one reaches Goloka, where there is full-fledged Krishna conception. All other stages may be changeable. There is no further change when one is firmly established in his service, in his serving relationship with the original Lord Krishna. In the narrative of Brihad Bhagavatamra, Gopa Kumar passes through Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Mathura, Dwarka, and then he finally arrives in Vrindavana. There, his particular divine relationship with the Lord firmly culminates in friendship. For him, the previous stages were passing, although for others, a permanent relationship may occur in one of them. They are progressive stages of positive immortality.
On the banks of the Godavari River, in progressively deeper and deeper planes, the entity of theological development was expressed in the conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Ramananda Roy. A positive hierarchy of divine relationships with the Lord exists in progressive stages for the various types of devotees. Karmi, Vyaha, Takriti. Each type having its characteristic central relationship. Vaikuntha Viveki Nakaha, Upada Brahmata 9. In the divine realm, the depth and degree of surrender may also be measured according to the science of Melos, Rasa Tattva, peacefulness, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and consorthood. Shanta Dasya Sakya Vatsalya Madhurya Ras are all the natural divisions, each consecutively of a finer layer, and a higher than even the direct consorthood of the Godhead is the most elevated of the entire compass of devotional services, the divine service of the supreme predominated moiety, Sri Radha Dasya.
According to the intensity of the surrender to the point of no return, the quality of the magnitude of the truth encountered may be measured. The inner sequence of truth and its infinity characteristic attracts the devotees' hearts to the highest degree, so much that they never feel any satisfaction of achievement in what is actually the acme of their highest fortune. In Vaikuntha, only peacefulness, servitorship are present, with a hint of friendship. If we commit the offense of giving more attention to law than to the love, we will be cast on from the Golaka to Vaikuntha. Goloka is the land of love, and there the elements know nothing more, and by love it means self-sacrifice, self-forgetfulness for the service of Krishna, without a care for one's good or bad future, a total risk in the extreme.
In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami defines Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as more than Lord Narayana of Vaikuntha, the most powerful in all phases. Above that, his existence, appearance, and nature attracts everyone to serve him, love him, and die for him. His qualification is so beautiful. Thus, the highest conception of the Godhead is the Krishna conception, and he can be known by the devotees in Krishna consciousness. Those who serve and worship the Supreme Lord according to the scriptural regulation and calculation belong to the category of Vaikuntha worship. In Vaikuntha, in the initial transcendental conscious conception, the Godhead as Lord Narayana accepts reverential service in his majestic dignity, but the devotees of the highest order are exclusively surrendered to the service of Lord Krishna with their innermost love and faith. The Krishna conception of Golok Vrindavan is corroborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the greatest interpretation of the Vedic scriptures. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known to be Krishna himself, and with his highest potency, Sri Radha. Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Deva has clearly revealed that the genuine interpretation and purpose of all the revealed scriptures is to faithfully guide us to the highest goal, the domain of love and unconditional surrender unto the central power of truth, personified in Lord Krishna as beauty and affection. Not power, but affection is the highest force to attract us all. Consciously or unconsciously, the absolute position is held by love and affection, and love is superior to all power and knowledge. It is the real fulfillment of the inner heart. Our inner existence wants only love, beauty, and affection, neither knowledge nor power. The finite cannot capture the infinite, but the infinite can make himself known to the finite. And when the infinite appears as a member of the finite land, the highest gain of the finite is achieved. Krishna carries his father's shoes and he cries when chastised by his mother. Through love, the absolute comes down to the finite.
The infinite's most intimate approach to the finite is found in Vrindavan. The infinite comes to embrace the finite in its fullest capacity, aprakrita, mixing with finite things so closely that people cannot perceive the Lord's transcendental, godly character as the divinity. We, the infinitesimal souls, can attain our greatest fortune when the infinite comes to us in his highest approach, as if he were one of us. His approach is so merciful, so great, so intimate, and so perfect.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is sweetness and magnanimity combined, openly announced that we are all natural slaves of the highest entity, Chaitanya Madhya Lila 21 period. But this is slavery to the great force of love and beauty. It is the greatest force to be utilized in any way by the absolute existence, knowledge and beauty to be in harmony with the highest center. No one is forced or barred, but this is the soul's intrinsic nature. Faithfully in divine succession from Nitya Leela Pravista, Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Ashtottara Sadasi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, especially inspired by the divine message of Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda Saranagati, and taking the authentic Gaudiya Vaishnava literature such as Sri Hari, Bhakti Vilasa and Bhakti Sandarbha, as well as the writings of other authorized divine successions such as the Ramanuja Sampradaya. This Sri Prapanna Jivanamrutam has been compiled in order to supply devotees spiritual sustenance and nourishment. Yeah. Surrender is the indispensable necessity in life of a devotee. The life nectar of the surrendered souls will sustain and fortify the surrendered souls as the nectar in the life of positivity and progress. In one.
Jai.
Any questions?
So, surrendering and service are the main things for the Vaishnava. Right, Ravi? So we should do more service.
Every life has three objectives to choose. Yeah. Three choices. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. You can aspire for fruitive exploitative results.
Yeah.
You can want to renounce
Yeah. You can choose bhakti.
and retreat into your own self and do nothing. Or you can give of yourself, surrender, and give yourself entirely in service to the higher realm.
Doesn't like when people go into renunciation, like usually if it's not Krishna, then there's some a lot of the times fall down back to
Material life.
yeah, like sort of like if a person goes and renounces, like if he just all of a sudden feeling distressed and all, so he just goes away in the jungle and all, and then afterwards he's just feeling like I'm alone and all, I need someone, so then he comes back.
So we don't know a life of devotion, how much joy is there. Everyone is seeking joy through exploitation. They think, I have to take from this world
Yeah.
in order to be happy. They do not know that by giving, by submission, and becoming a slave to the higher Krishna, I become subordinate servant of Krishna. That there is a joy there that is higher than all other joy. That is ananda, sat-cit-ananda. So that is what this book is going to tell us about. The higher joy, the higher ecstasy of surrender, of service. Don't be afraid to enter that plane. All problems will be solved. Your life becomes perfect. Okay. Anything else? Before there is service, there must be sharanagati, surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender has to come first, then service can come. If you don't surrender, there's no service.
But probably surrendering is difficult, right? So,
Surrender is difficult. Well, it's difficult if you're attached.
Yeah, but the thing is that surrender is only as easy as your determination.
It's what?
Surrender is surrender is only going to be as easy as you're determined to be, because even if you don't feel like it, you have to force yourself.
Not really. Not really.
Why do you say that?
Because sometimes we get into so much trouble. We're so distressed. And we don't know what to do. And we have no determination to do anything, really. Because we have so much burden in us. And the only way you can get relief from that burden is to let go. You know, they say, let go, let God. Ever hear that?
But Prabhu, what you're seeming to describe is...
Let's stop trying. You get so frustrated in your life, and you just think, I'm not going to try anymore. And whatever God wants, He can do. You can come to that point. That's surrender. This is very easy.
Yeah, but...
And when you come to that point where you don't have any other choices, you can't do anything for yourself, then the easiest thing to do is to say, I'm going to stop trying to do it my way and try to do it His way. Let Him guide. Let Him take over my life. I have made a mess of my life. And I'm incapable of making it correct, proper. Therefore, let me just trust in Him. It's the easiest thing to do.
But Prabhu, I don't quite get it. Like when you say like it's as easy as your determination, you're saying like when a person is so distressed and so many burdens that you're saying it's not that easy. You're saying I don't quite understand though. Like to be honest, like if you're how are you even if you're in distress though, like even if you're in pain, like if you are strongly determined, like have the iron will to surrender,
I think what Maharaj is saying is that determination can kind of be the consciousness that I can control the outcome. I'm determined, no matter how bad life gets, to control the outcome and try to make it better. Through trying to surrender based on my own mental concoction. But the real surrender is letting go of any will that we personally have to try to make something some way. And only by letting go in this way of bhakti, where we're not just letting go and saying, I don't care what happens, I don't care about anything, no problem, that's renunciation. But if we're saying, no, I can't control the situation, I can't control these things, so I'm just going to let go, and whatever happens, I can accept as Krishna's mercy. That's renunciation, where we're letting go, even of determination. I think this is...
But when I'm talking about determination, I'm talking about like, like if you know about like the Krishna conscious path, and for some reason like things around you are like not so conducive and all, but and plus on top of it like things aren't so conducive, and like plus you have your own bad habits and all, so to be honest, like taking up Krishna consciousness can be painful though, but determined as in the sense that you still have to like have the iron will to follow it through, because if you don't, then to be honest, like you're not going to get out of the situation you're in. Like if you're like really distressed and all, Krishna conscious, but you have bad habits and all, and then like when you're trying, like
sometimes you just have to pray to Krishna. I am a bad person. I'm a rascal. And still I want to be with you. I want to have your connection. The only way that I can do that is by your mercy. If you judge me, I am a criminal. If you're coming to me to judge me, then I'm a criminal, no doubt. But if you give me your mercy and you completely let me overlook my bad qualities, only in that way and I have a connection with you.
Okay.
So I'm just here praying for your mercy.
I mean, for example, like let's say like you're going and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Like when you go chant, your mind goes to other things and all. You don't feel like doing it. But the thing is that in order to be able to get to the place where you feel pleasure from chanting and all, you have to force yourself though. Because if you don't force yourself, then how are you really going to progress though?
Well, we need help. In those situations, we need help from above. And that's all we can do is pray.
But at the same time, we also need to be determined to do our best, don't we?
At the same time, try to do your best. But when you can't succeed, just say, all right, Krishna, it's up to you. You have to help me. I'm doing my part. Now I hope you will do your part.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do pray that though, but it's not like it happens in a second though.
No, it won't happen in this way. Only when you are very sincere and Krishna knows you really want him under all circumstances, you still want him, then he may give his mercy to you. We don't know. That's our position.
But the thing
Mercy-
is that in between that time though, sometimes
Mercy, you have to understand, there's two things, mercy and justice.
yeah,
We have done so many things.
of course we have.
Karma is coming to attack us, make us miserable from the things we have done before. That's justice. When you go to the court, to the judge, Judge, I've done this, I've done that, I've done so many bad things, I should be punished. Judge says, yes, according to the law, you should be punished.
Okay.
But the judge has the power to grant you mercy. You have done all these things, now I'm going to give you a break. Try to change your life around. Give up those bad things. And he gives us a chance. Some good. That's called mercy. So you have to pray to Krishna. I'm not coming to you for justice. I'm coming to you for mercy. Give me a chance. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. You should see my heart. I am sincere in my attempt to try to come to you. Then you have to help me from your side. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. We can't do more than that. And we have to wait until he is ready. And that's called faith, Shraddha. That he will come, and he will protect me, he will save me. If we have faith like that, unshakable faith, then Krishna will intercede. That is the criteria. Faith,
Faith comes from Sukriti.
Sukriti. You have the good merit, you will have that faith in Krishna. You won't be deviated by anything.
With faith only we surrender, right? With the right.
Faith will lead you to that world. Faith will lead you to the Sangha. Sangha is the association of the devotees. If you have faith, you'll want to come to see the devotees, talk to the devotees, engage in service with the devotees, so many things. Hearing, that's based upon faith. So we need that, and we have, then after that we have to be patient. There's a progression that occurs in our spiritual life. But the first step is faith and then association. That's a progression. We have to take up the process. It's like, you know, the Chinese have a saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You're taking one step, then you can't say, well, look, I've taken one step, why am I not at the end of the road? That's not right. Once a day you have to take 2 steps. Then you have to 3 like that. You have to take 100, 200, 300. You keep going. When you get to the end, it's not that, it takes some time. But you're on the way. You're going on the way. Happy and patient. That makes no sense. If you're taking a few steps and you think, well, why am I not there already? That's not possible. Have to be patient. You're going in the right direction.
But patience is very hard though when you're in real distress. Like for example, like I've heard that, like for example, like people who are in the hellish regions though, like for most of them taking to Krishna consciousness is much harder than people on earth because they're in like
Pain.
the like extreme amount of pain. Like it's mostly pain.
Yes.
Like the only time there might be a pleasure is when they're not in pain.
But you know something? A real devotee, pure devotee,
Yeah.
prays to Krishna, you may put me in hell. I don't care. You may put me in a hellish condition of life. It's not a problem for me. Only one thing I ask. If that's what you want, you do that. But only one thing I ask, favor. But don't let me forget you. That's the pure devotees. Huh?
Who was it? Jiva Goswami walking on the hot sand, burning his feet because he had some skin condition or something like that. Like there are so many stories of devotees where, I forget some of their names, but one devotee literally had, very, very severe leprosy, and there was insects living inside one of the leprosy holes.
Wow.
And one of the insects fell out, and he took the insect and put it back in to listen to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching of giving respect to all other beings and being more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. And one time Sanatan Goswami wanted to kill himself, right? He wanted to commit suicide because Raghunath Das, because he had leprosy and one of them had leprosy, right? And then he wanted to stay away from the Lord, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came over and gave him a big hug or something.
You want me to search it?
Yeah, he wanted to stay away, he wanted to kill himself, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just came over and gave him a hug.
He had leprosy, and like you said, if a worm fell off, he thought, he has to eat, and he put him back on his body. But then Mahaprabhu wanted to embrace him because he could see what a staunch devotee he was. So no, don't touch me, I have leprosy. Mahaprabhu didn't care. You are a devotee. And he cured him.
Yeah, I was just asking like if you guys need to look up some information, I could go on PrabhupadaBooks.com and look. But never mind.
What books?
Well, it's a website though where it tells all the books, lectures and all of Prabhupada, and like if I search some particular word.
Database.
Not Vedabase, this is PrabhupadaBooks.com.
Google, if you look at Google sometimes you'll find. Prabhupada.
No, but it's this particular website, I think I gave to Ajay Prabhuji. Like you put a certain word in it and it searches through the whole Prabhupada books and all.
That's database.
I think you're saying it's different.
It's PrabhupadaBooks.com.
But there's database, but it has.
Yeah, Vedabase, I think I've heard about Vedabase, but it's been a long
time. It has a
time.
search option.
Yeah.
You put in the word and you'll find all
the books also there.
All the books.
All Prabhupada.
They also have a program.
I haven't used Vedabase.
Have a program called Database. It has all the Prabhupada's letters, everything. Books, letters, whatever. But it's an expensive program.
Well, the thing
online they have a free program.
Well, I saw the free program though a long time ago, like back in 2012, 2013, but since then I haven't even seen it. Sorry. Am I? Yeah, that's why I think you might be saying that you're sick, because so that we don't, so that maybe we don't expect too much from you. Like too much as in like we understand if you know you can't speak.
I wish that were the case, but it's not. No, I don't even wish that, but it's not the case. I've been sick for several days, a whole week, baby. That's this problem.
No, because when I was earlier talking about a gentleman never tells his ailments and all.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please forgive
No,
me.
it's not anything. I'm just I don't know.
Let us say sorry to Prabhu. Madhava, sorry for that.
Yeah, I've been saying sorry every single time.
He says what he thinks.
Yeah.
He just reveals.
Yeah, to be honest, like since I'm in a
But I think I better say, you talk, you tell him. I don't
I don't have
need
any.
to tell him. Nothing to say.
I'm sorry, I'm just like in a very in that sort of weird state though because of the sleep thing where I'm like I don't know, sometimes I just say things and I'm like surprised as to like how come I can say something so so like on the intellectual level.
Well, you say what's on your mind. You seem to be very, pure in that you talk from your heart, which is nice. So the more you become Krishna conscious, you'll probably be a super awesome preacher. You'll just go up to someone and say, offer that to Krishna. You must.
Yeah.
It's the best thing for
But
you.
hope I get better sleep then.
Well,
Hope I'm not seriously like this
No.
forever.
Sometimes Maharaj is not getting so much good sleep, but he's still doing service all day. So many bad things may come, but there's no excuse.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but I don't want to go without sleep for a long, long time.
True.
Shall we have a prasad?
Yes. Mahaprasad.
A what?
Please forgive me.
No, it's me for forgiveness, brother.
Huh?
I don't know, I'm just saying whatever comes to my mind.